Hello! Today I will be showing you a recreated Photoshop tutorial of the Steven Universe logo. The original tutorial was created by the YouTuber named Phizzy, that's Phizzy, so please go check them out. So before we open a new document in Photoshop, there's a folder I created with some tools we'll need. This folder includes the Steven Universe font / Crystal Universe font, color palettes, and reference images, and that'll all be linked down below. So the first thing we need to do is download the Steven Universe font, which was created by MaxiGamer on DeviantArt. If the link directs you to DeviantArt, you may need to create an account to access the font. But once you've downloaded it, you should be able to install it onto your computer. It's real simple and easy, just like this. And make sure to download the OTF versions instead of the TTF versions. Download the slanted one and the regular one. And as you can see, I already have both of those downloaded. Now we are going to create a new file. Let's set the dimensions to pixels with a width of 3840 and a height of 2160. So the same as 4K resolution. And RGB is fine, so then we can start creating. Now we have our document. I'm gonna grab all the colors for our text so we don't have to worry about it later. And if you would like to add all the colors manually, then here are all the color codes. You can pause the video to look at each one. Yay! Now we can create our text. So first turn off the background because we want a transparent background. And then we're gonna go get our text tool and start typing. So I'm going to use the italicized version of the font. It should be under Crystal Universe, and I'm going to write Alyssa Universe. You can write whatever you want, just make sure that the first letter of each word is capitalized, and we're going to align it to the left. And I ended up going with 100-point font size. Then we're just going to adjust the words to make it look like the capital letters are merging together, and I used the leading to adjust the vertical space. And I also added a star. You just use the asterisk symbol. Once you're happy with how it looks, then we're going to make it 3D. Just go up to the top where it says 3D and go to New 3D Extrusion from Selected Layer. Go ahead and click Yes. And then we're going to go to the top of the Properties panel and turn off the Catch and Cast shadows. And then I went and changed the extrusion depth to about 7.2. Now go down to the 3D panel and we're going to click on Current View. Then we're going to go back to the top of the Properties panel and click on Orthographic. This will give us our original 2D view. And then I just used the Move tool to test out the 3D extrusion and figure out generally what angle I wanted it at. Go back to the 3Ds panel where it has your main text layer, and we're going to go to the top of the Properties panel and click on the fourth icon, which is the coordinates. Then we're going to adjust the angle. I ended up with 4, -3, and 0. And then we're going to go to the extrusion layer and we'll change the base color to the lighter red of the color palette. Next we'll go to the infinite light layer and go to the coordinates icon. And then we'll adjust the angle to about -25, -30, and -42. So the main text color I chose made it hard to see the actual extrusion, so I ended up adjusting it to this yellow. So I had to go back to the extrusion layer and change the base color back to that lighter red. Now we're going to create a new infinite light. Just go to the bottom of the 3D panel and there should be a light bulb icon. And we'll change that color to this pink. Once again, we need to adjust the angle. I ended up with -35, 75, and -75. We go back to the color and I adjusted the intensity to about 303%. Finally, we're done with the extrusion and now we can go back to layers and make a copy of our 3D extrusion. And we're going to rasterize this copy. Turn off all the layers except for the copy and the color palette, and we're gonna export and save for web as a PNG8. Make sure there's no dither, and then we'll go to the color table and select all colors, control click on the transparent color, and delete everything else. Now go to the original view tab on the top left, and then we'll use the color picker to add the light red and the pink back to the color table. Then we'll click save, and I'm saving it as background text. Now back in our original file, take the magic wand and select the top portion of the text. Then go to layer, new, layer via cut. Now turn off all the layers except for the one we just made, and then quick export as PNG, and click save. Now we're gonna go and import those 2 PNG files we just saved. Make sure that they're in the correct order. Now we're gonna create the top layer effect. The original tutorial actually provided the effect, but I'm just gonna use it as a color palette so that we have the correct colors, but we're gonna actually create it ourselves. So on a new layer, use the rectangle marquee tool to select the whole image and fill it with the orange color. Then use the elliptical marquee tools to make the circles. I did yellow first and then the white. And I just kept adjusting it until it looked similar to the original. And before we clip that, we're gonna go back to our background text and erase the color palette on top. And I converted it to a smart object. Make sure the top text is converted to a smart object as well. And now we can take our text effect and create a clipping mask to the top text. And then use the move tool to adjust it to your liking or to make it as similar to the original as you'd like. I'm just moving the color palette out of the way, and then we'll select the background text, the top text, and the text effect and group it. Make a copy of the group, and we're going to merge the copy. Right click on that merged layer to get to the blending options, and we're gonna add a stroke. I made the stroke size 20 and I made sure the color was the same red. Now we're going to take all those layers from the color palette, the original extrusion, and the final piece we made and make it into a smart object. Let's make a new document for our final piece. It's going to be a 7 by 5 inch postcard. Go back to our original document, grab the smart object, and drag it into our new document. Make sure to hold shift as you adjust the size of the smart object. Center it, and then we're almost done. For the background, I went to Adobe Color and created my own color palette. I just imported the Steven Universe reference image from the folder and selected some colors I liked. If you're logged into your Adobe account, when you save it, it should go directly to your library in Photoshop. On a new layer, I'm going to create the background. You can customize the background to however you'd like, but some of the tools I used were the gradient tool for the background. I used the elliptical marquee tool for the hills. I used the Crystal Universe font to make the stars and just converted it to a smart object. For the diamonds, I used the rectangular marquee tool and just rotated it. And for the extra textures, I used the polygonal lasso tool and just used a textured brush and did some strokes. The last part is just creating the subtext. One of the texts will say created by, and then another one will have your name. I used the same font, the italicized Crystal Universe font, and I aligned it to the right this time. I adjusted the font size a lot, but I ended up going with 9-point font for created by and 12-point font for my name. And just make sure that the top of both the text are aligned. Then we'll grab the blue and greenish yellow color palettes from the folder again. We'll use the darker color palette for the created by and the lighter color palette for your name. Once we're done with that, we're gonna go to each text to the blending option and create a drop shadow. We're going to use the blue color for the drop shadow, and for each drop shadow, we're gonna have it at an angle of 150 and a distance of 8 pixels. turn off any unnecessary layers and add some finishing touches, and we're done. And if you want to be extra like me, then you can animate it to make it shine. And there you go, you have your Steven Universe logo. So thanks for watching, bye!